Button on here. We have a kind of a limited time on Zoom because I'm using the free one, but kind of a limit happens last time. Okay, good job, Viviane. We have sound now. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Kathryn. I'm a teacher out here in Washington State, where it's raining nonstop. I teach French at Mount Vernon High School. I've got French 2, 3, 4, and AP, so I've got a great variety of classes. And I'm going to switch off here from the camera because even though I'm just gorgeous at 10 o'clock in the morning, I want to show you some things, and you're probably going to want to stop and ask some questions. And I just want to make sure that everyone's been accepted so far. It looks good. So I'm going to share my screen out, and feel free. I'm going to hit. I would ask you to mute yourself unless you want to ask a question. That way we don't have any background noises with dogs, cats, kids. Cats probably not so much, but you never know if they start meowing. Okay, so let me get this up here. Okay, so now we're here at mine. I've got a great thing to share to you today, and I guess most of us remember MadLibs when we were kids. That was, to me, one of the strangest little things that you could do as a 5th grader was make up these stories just by talking with your friends, and they would write the words in, and that would create a silly little story. And what we had to do was tell them we need an adjective, we need a noun, we need to put in the verbs in a certain tense, and that's great because the story we didn't know until our friends read it back to us. So no matter what we chose, we were always trying to be a little sneaky when we were kids. So I love these ideas because you had to be able to read, and then you didn't really have to be able to write because the template was already set up for you. And a lot of kids in our classes are feeling a little bit overwhelmed with when we say write this story. They're not quite sure what to do with it. They have relied on Google Translate, or they just copy some other story. And I'm trying to say, okay, let's support them through this writing process from the novice level, so that each time they try out this writing task, they're going to feel a little bit more confident so that they don't have to rely on cheating. Okay, so if you haven't done a MadLibs before, look it up. It's a lot of fun. In French, they're called Textual Singhal, and they don't make them anymore. I'm so disappointed because I looked on eBay even, and they were selling a book for $60, which I'm not going to do. Spanish teachers, you have them. You're lucky. And sometimes the stories relate to what you're doing. And that's the other thing, is we don't want to just push out a story onto our students without it having a connection to our current unit or perhaps theme. So then you have to say, what am I going to do? Is that I can't just make one up, can I? You're like, yes, you can. And I'm going to show you how to use Google Forms today, and a little add-on called Autocrat that will help you make a basic template, put in the things that you want your students to interact with. So if you're shooting for a certain tense or a certain vocabulary set, basically I blend everything together with things that students have been encountered before, and then some new stuff I just little poke in there. So the first one I'm going to show you today, it's a real basic one. It's called Who Am I? What do I look like? And I use a lot of animals at the novice level. Well, I wanted to have the students read a story about an imaginary animal. So I made a little story on Google Docs. So this is my model. This is the template. To do this, you're going to need 3 parts. You're going to need a Google Doc, and then you're going to need a Google form. And if you're not a Google user and you are on Microsoft, whatever they're using, please let me know. I've never done anything really within that whole OneNote or Microsoft world. I feel a little bad about that. So we've got our model that we're going to write, and this is in a Google Doc. You can add pictures, you can add video, you can put in all sorts of media so that at least when the students are interacting with it, they're going to have something fun to look at. So to write a model, okay, to write the template, you're going to use these little brackets right here, and you need both of those inside what you're going to have your students be choosing from on the form. So here's the form when it's done. That's the second part. And the students are going to interact with this. They're not even going to go onto your model, onto their template until they get through the form and it's all done. So they put in their name. I have them put in their email, even though I do have a Google account for the Google schools. I still want that because I want to be able to push it to them. So I put that in there. Now the students are going to start reading. That's the first thing I want them to do, is recognize words that we've already worked with. So this is their habitat, and the question is asking, where do I live? And so now I'm reinforcing questions and words like live. I could have used habite. And then I give them several choices here. And I use words that are good cognates or things that we've learned. Okay, what's the weather like where I live? Okay, so you can see that I'm reviewing a lot of the vocabulary that they've learned before. And it's good to see it in a context because they're making up the story. You want it to be things that they can grab onto easily. And you also notice that these are multiple choice. I'm going to show you another one, another type of form where you can have the students actually writing in. And you could be even more complex by having the adjective. You could have the name of the parts of speech. So you could have noun, adjective, past participle, feminine. I don't want to do that with my novices. I don't need to do that at all, really, because knowing those parts of speech, it's important for a certain level, but not right here. So now it's some body parts of animals. All of this so far has been just basic click, click, click. And if the kids even just sort of click through randomly, it doesn't matter. It's a funny story. So then let's say I have some new vocabulary I want the students to interact with. I can put some pictures in. So I'm here using, I want to use an adjective that goes before or after just to show them what that looks like. For example, down here it says une coquille rose. So I show where the colors go. And here I have une longue queue. So we have in French adjectives that go before and after. So that's a nice way to insert some input for the kids. Okay, then I have some more questions, some more body parts. I have, in fact, a lot of body parts because the students are describing an animal. Eventually, they have to do the same thing. So they go through and they click, and I don't want to make it too long, okay, but I do intersperse the pictures and the videos if I want to put some in. Okay, and then I have some foods. I chose some really odd foods just because I like to make them giggle, especially if you're giving the options. Kids aren't always able to come up with creative ones on their own, so I'm giving them the idea that, ooh, let's use hissing cockroaches. It's something that's going to be a little giggly. Then I've got some cute animal pictures because what else to pull in our novices are cute things. They just love looking at those. And this could be used at the elementary level, middle school. I even use these with my high school. They love it. So when a student looks at this, okay, they've got all these choices, and you're going to set that up first. Okay, so you're going to make this Google form, and you've done this before most likely. You can add pictures, and you can change how, like if you want certain types of questions to go in a certain direction. Okay, so but the kids are just filling this part out. So now you're going to go back and look at your story, because I always write my story first. It's a real basic one. Sometimes I use a paragraph style so that kids can see a little bit more advanced writing. This one, it's not that hard of a story. Each time that they're selecting something from the form, so let's look at the first question. My habitat, where do I live? Okay, so here it is right here to start with. I live in, and then here's in the template where we've got habitat, and that's what this question is asking. And when we get all done with this, we're going to use that Autocrat run add-on for Google and say, okay, go to the form, go to the answers, find out what the person picked. Okay, so now I'm on the Google Sheets. I'm just showing what your answers are. Grab whatever they took here and put it in this spot. Okay, so it's basically a mail merge, and some of you have worked with that before. I think that they are very easy to use, and if you just tweak it a little bit, you get a MadLib. So when the students fill that out, they don't see this until they've written their story. You've added that Google add-on in, and now here it is. I'm a very interesting animal, and I'm going to describe myself. This part I just wrote, that's a little introduction. So here's what the person chose, dans la ferme. So it went to the form, found out the person chose dans la ferme, and went into the template and said, okay, for that, I'm going to stick it in here, and there it is. And you do that through the whole story. Every time that you've got a question on your form, you need to make these little brackets put some sort of tag in. I use really basic things that help me remember which question it is. So I know I've got this right here. I always kind of tag it right inside the questions as well. That way there's no error of it choosing the wrong word. Okay, so far I've just given you a big introduction. What kind of questions do you have so far? You can unmute yourself and ask away.
I'm just a little confused. So if they fill out the Google form,
yep,
the Google form, right?
Yep, that's the form, right?
It doesn't automatically populate the Google Doc.
It does. It does, and I'll show you how to do that. Yeah, it'll automatically, as soon as they hit submit down at the bottom, right? They're going to get an email with their completed story.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's basically, you wrote, it's basically, like I said, it's like a MadLibs where they're filling it out, and once they're done, they have a complete story. And it's sent to them by Gmail, so that they would open up their Gmail and they will see this. And they'll say, oh, look at the story I wrote. And I say, yes, we wrote it together. You supplied the information. I gave you the I gave you the guts of the story. Okay, so the skeleton, I should say. They gave the guts, I gave the skeleton. We've got a great story. That's how we'll put those two together. So it is automatic.
Will you explain how that?
Yep, I'm going to do that absolutely step by step. But I just want to make sure that everybody sees that there are kind of like 3 things so far. So you have to write the story. You have to put those little brackets in. Then you have to look at your form and make your form. And now you don't have to put pictures in. This is my like 10th form. And I just said, let's try putting pictures in when the words are a little bit more advanced. Okay, so I give the link to my students. I just push it out on Google Classroom. The students can work in pairs, they can work in groups, and that can be even more exciting than just having them do it on their own, because they can talk about it, they can agree, they can disagree. You can teach them those words, je suis d'accord, je suis pas d'accord, and then say, that's a funny idea, that's a silly idea. You can give them a whole sheet of little conversation words and phrases that they can use while they're filling this out. So it's a great way to make this somewhat interpersonal as well. Okay? So when the students do that, all of their answers come in on a spreadsheet, and this is the Google Sheets. I've got their name, and I've blocked out everybody's email because that's something I want to keep your privacy, and then I've got all of their answers. And in the past, this would be nothing interesting at all. Okay, so now we're going to do the fun part. When you're inside your Google Sheet, there is a tab called Add-ons. And you're going to, on your first one, go to Get Add-ons, unless you already have Autocrat, which I do. You're going to go to Get Add-ons, and that's going to just pop up into Google, and you're going to look for Autocrat. Okay, A-U-T-O-C-R-A-T. And it'll pop up, and it's free. You just click and add it in. And if your school doesn't allow add-ins, I don't have an answer for you right now. Have them, show them what this looks like, and they're going to be able to go, oh, this is a good educational thing. So once you add that in, that pops up into your Google Sheets. And I'm just going to move this here so I can click off. Okay, so now I'm going to go, the students, you always want to do it one time to begin with so that you fill out the form so that you get a sheet started. So there's me, I'm always the first one to fill it out. And I do it exactly when I'm done with that. Then I go into add-ons, and I'm going to start Autocrat. Okay, once you've installed it, and you only have to do this one time when you first set up the sheet. So anytime anyone fills this out and hits submit, it will run and it will generate the finished story for you. Any questions on that? I'm going to show you how to do it in a second, but I just want to make sure everyone knows that you're going to go and get that Autocrat add-on. Okay, on your first time, you're going to start up a new job, but since I've already run this one, we're just going to edit, and it'll say start job. You give it a name. Okay, so you name it, and then you would hit next. And now you have to go find your template. So I save everything that I do for these MadLibs in one folder. So it's all there. So there's the merged documents, which means that all of the answered stories that people wrote are in there. You can make that folder. So here's my form. Here's my template. and here are all the answers. So if I put that into one folder, it makes everything easy to find. I'm pretty obsessive about organizing my files so that everything's easy to find. So when you go into your drive, you'll be able to find that template because it'll be under your recent. You'll just remember that. Okay, so here's mine right here. It says modèle qui suis-je. That is this thing right here. Okay, that's my template. Once you have that, you can hit next. And this is all automatic, so just kind of click through it. I have a YouTube video on how to do this step by step if you need to watch it again and again and again and just get so excited by watching Kathryn 50 times. Do that. Or you can email me. You can tweet me if you're on Facebook with me. Then we'll be able to do it together. We could do a quick Zoom talk. Well, this is running slow. Let me try that one more time. Absolutely. Let's do that again. I've done this with about 5 stories so far at different levels, and each time I find something new to add in. It's a lot of fun because the students don't get tired of the same type because I can vary the questions. Either it's multiple choice or it's fill in the blank. So that keeps it lively for the students. Okay, there we go. So we've picked our template. And if you've ever done a mail merge before, you know that you have to match the terms with your template. So everything on here is a question, and everything in here is a tag to that question with those little brackets. When you're running Autocrat, you're telling it, okay, go find where it says name and choose name. So you just use the click down box and choose what it is. What does habitat refer to? And then since I named it with the right one, it's habitat. Okay, what's the weather? What's your size, body parts? And this is where it was helpful. See where I named that 4? Then I can find it easily. It says 4. If you do a little bit of this housework beforehand, it makes this mapping go very fast. So basically it says, in the story, go find this answer. Okay. When you're done with that, you just hit next. And then you're going to create a Google Doc, and that's what the students receive is this Google Doc. That's helpful for them so that they can read their story, they can read it to each other, and that's the best part about MadLibs is, oh my goodness, they come up with the silliest little thoughts, especially if they're writing in their own. If you're doing the fill in the blank, if kids are using swear words, I don't have a way to stop that, and I haven't had it happen because I read them the right act before we ever do this. So what I'm going to do is say, okay, for every story that is generated, go put them in this file called qui suis-je. So here's that file right here where it says qui suis-je. I can find every single student's file with their name on it real easily. Okay, and then I can also say put their name on it. So I have right now their name. Okay. And I'm going to put that in there. And how I found that was I click on this little blue tab, and here are all the things that I have from the Google form. And basically, I just want their name. Okay. I want that as a Google Doc. Click next. This is where all of those stories are going to go. Okay. We're going to skip this one because it's really not important. I haven't done anything with the dynamic folder references before. So the set merge condition, that's also optional. We don't have to worry about that. So now, how are the students going to get their stories? First of all, you want it to be a shared doc. You can choose whether or not you let them edit it. I have done that before. I usually just leave it like that. You could make it as a PDF so they can't copy it or change it or do anything and say, look, I did it right. I've given them the comment only so they can put a little translation on the side to show that they actually know what they wrote. So the student would get their story, they'd read it, and they put a comment and saying, this is what this means. Okay. So we've gotten through that part. They could send it to each other, but here's what I'm going to do. I want Autocrat to automatically send them an email. So since I got their email at the top, sorry. Okay, since I've got their name and I have their email, I'm going to tell Autocrat, okay, click on the blue little box, find where it says email, click on it, and then you just paste it in there. We don't need it twice, but I just want to show what you look like. And then I usually just name the email so it has a reference. So it says qui suis-je, And then I put, dear so-and-so. And here's where it's going to go and look for their name. So I'm addressing the email to them. And you've got this one, it's in the links, and I can send it, I'll put it out in the chat where you can actually try it out, fill it out. Even if you're not a French teacher, you can just click in. You'll probably, it's very comprehensible language. So I'm going to grab their name, and then I just paste that in there. So it makes it more personalized. You've seen those constant contact emails that always have your name in it. That's what we're doing. And then I told the students, here's the description of your animal. Read it really well, and then draw the animal that you described. And that's where I'm getting a lot of that reading comprehension from the students, is they're proving. So they're going to go and read their story, and they're going to realize, oh my gosh, this animal is rather big, with scales, green scales, a big snout, and blue spots on its head. So they have to read that. That's all the vocabulary that we had been practicing earlier on how to describe animals. And then they're going to draw with those colors, which can be a lot of fun, because then the kids can talk about it, they can share, they can say, my animal is prettier than yours. You can do so many wonderful things to get the kids to discuss their pictures and their stories. So we've got this all filled out so that we can share this story, and it's going to come to the students automatically in the email. You hit next, and question number 9 says run Unformed Trigger, and you want to make sure that says yes. What you're basically saying is, whenever a person fills out my form and hits submit, the email will be generated automatically, and it usually arrives within 5 seconds. That's how fast the students will get their story. You do not need it to run on a time trigger, meaning that you would turn it on and off. So let's say you're not going to have it run after a week. I just always keep that on no. Just don't put a time limit on it. Otherwise, you have to go back and fill this out again. Okay. So once you're all done, you hit save. Okay. It takes a few seconds to put all those parameters in. And on the first time only when you do this, there'll be a little play button right here. And that means run the job. And that's basically when you're running it, you're the first person that filled out the form, so you could get the Excel sheet. And that's where you're going to say, okay, from now on, just run it without me even having to look. So the students fill out the form, and then they go to their email, and there's their story with their name on it. Wow. So that's the step-by-step. And like I said, I've recorded this and I'll put it on, but you can go to my YouTube channel as well. I'm going to put this in the chat box real quick so that you can try it out for yourself. And let's see if we've got, let's make it bigger. Let's see, chat box. Oh, there's somebody that just came in. Welcome, welcome. We just went through everything, and I did record so that you'll be able to see that. Welcome. Okay, so what kind of questions do you have? I'm going to hit stop share for a second and put this in. Hi, Andrea?
Yeah, hi.
Hi. No, wonderful. Okay. Well, Linda, merci beaucoup. That's very nice. She's going to use it this week. I know that we have some language teachers from everywhere else. In the chat box, you'll see my first form. Okay, and then the second thing I'm going to put in there, let me go back one step, is a whole bunch of teachers, when I did this initially online a few years ago, they wrote their own stories and they shared them with me. So let me pull that up here and show you what that looks like. We'll go back to share, just a second. What's really wonderful is that if we each make one story for languages and we share it with each other, this is a teacher that wrote one, and she, let's see, what was her name? Jessica or Jennifer? Jennifer wrote this, and she wrote about the day with the substitute teacher. And she just looked at how I made my template, and she wrote hers. And she said, today my French teacher was absent from school. We had a substitute. His name is, and then they choose a name. So she wrote the story, she put the little brackets in, and it's all ready to go. And if you share that story with your colleague, and then you share also the Google Doc, they can make a copy of it, put it into their Google Drive, and then they will only get their student answers. So all of these I've shared, and I'm going to put this, I'm going to get a link for you real quick. And if you want to do this, if you're a French teacher, I'm sorry, Spanish teachers, I'm really not going to get into that right now with the Spanish teachers, I should say it that way. If you want to start your own little group on this, But here's the ones that we have so far so that you can take a look. These are the ones that have been shared. I haven't given you all of my students. I'll get those over there eventually. But right now I'm working between I'm actually working between 9 different Google accounts. Just, that's a long story. But some of them are in my school drive and some of them are in my previous Mount Vernon file and some of them are in my own file. And I need to work on putting them all together so that one spot.
I just want to say thank you. Oh my gosh, I can think of so many things we can do with movie talks.
Yes.
Everything.
Everything. And then that's the best thing is like you can style it. Now that you just know the like how to build it, now you can just make it bigger. And I'm going to show you a few more so that you can get some more ideas. Okay, so let's go back. That was the first one. That's just animal descriptions, okay? The second one I wanted to show you was, I do a lot of animal stuff. What a surprise, because they're very comprehensible. So I made this, and this was maybe my second one. There are no pictures. It's really boring. I have a header up there with some flamingos, okay? And it's about a trip to the zoo. So you notice on the model, on the template, I should say, I do have pictures because I want it to be something kind of fun. If they want to print it off, we could hang them up. So this is about a trip to the zoo and the animals that we saw. And this is Jennifer Allen who filled it out. And here is all of her answers. We're going to change one spelling error. Then the third one I did was my summer vacation. And I haven't worked on that one for a while. So it's really boring and ugly, but it's just what I did over my summer break. So this is like past tense. So it's about a trip they took to France and they get to choose all the things like where did you go? What did you see? So here's a person I went with, my family member. I went with my enemies. You always got to put some funny stuff in there, right? Mm-hmm. Which country did you go to? We just gave them 2 options because these were really novice kids. And then I gave them like 3 adjectives. So when you're first starting out, you don't want to overwhelm them. You just want to input as much stuff so that they can read their story. And that's why this is a real CI type thing. People are like, oh, you can't use CI in technology. And I said, oh, I think we can. So here's a gift. Now they've just put in the 40. Oh, wow. We get to go 40 whole extra minutes for free on Zoom. Yes. Okay. This one is the biggest one I've ever made. And I'll show you what it looks like. This is for my intermediate med students, mid-high. And I asked them, okay, I want you to write a 3-paragraph nonfiction work about how you are, what your health is like. That was just poorly said, I apologize, but I wanted them to evaluate their healthy life choices. So what they're going to do is put in, sometimes it's a drop-down box. Okay, so there's that. And then I put in some pictures so that they understand what good and bad habits are. And this is a checkbox, so they can check as many as they want. I love that because then you're adding in more vocabulary. If it's just a drop-down, okay, you get your few choices, but if you want multiple things, because maybe they do have multiple good habits. So here are their bad habits. I gave them a chart that has the vocabulary on it. So flexibility, I can touch my feet or almost touch my feet, you know, and how many push-ups can I do? What's my endurance? I put in lots of beautiful pictures because I want the students to be able to, you know, interpret. So this is interpretive reading and also produce something. So we've got that. It's a wonderful story. Now, when it's done, this is a long task. It is a multiple paragraph thing for them to read. And I'm really impressed because the first time I say, hey, you know, you're going to be writing a multiple paragraph work, they say that's impossible. And here they are. So now she made this and she wrote it in English. And that was something that she did. And I wanted to show that because the kids can use the translate. So you need to talk to them about this. Okay. That was something that I needed to go back and reflect on and say, okay, how do I get the kids so that they don't change the form into English? So we'll work on that. And this was a few years ago, and I learned a few lessons from that. So here's the template for it. But the kids had figured out that they could do that. And we just talked about it, and they agreed they would never do that again. So here are my answers. So I'm showing you different types of forms because I want you to get the idea that you can play with it on how long the template might be, or how short, or how many different activities you want them to interact with. Okay, let's go back to the camera. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh, let's get this person in. Thank you. What are your questions? What are your thoughts? A Latin teacher. Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. Please share the Latin teacher one. Oh, now German, that's going to be impressive because of the verb endings, the adjective, all the endings, dative, accusative, nominative. That's exceptionally awesome because that way they don't get them wrong, but you can make it comprehensible for them and they'll see it in the context and probably start processing that. Okay, yes, and this is being recorded, so I'll share that link. Most of you saw me on Facebook or Twitter. Where would you like me to post this?
Maybe Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook, okay. Facebook, were you in the CI group or the French teachers group?
Both. Both.
Both. I kind of posted it everywhere. I just made sure with everyone that I posted it on that it was okay with them. I didn't want to say, hey, I'm a spammer. And it's free, so French teachers in the US, merci. Okay. Anyone else have like an idea of what they could do with that? I think you can take basically any theme or any type of story. Some people did the Goldilocks, like rethinking Goldilocks. That might be a fun way. Like you can also find a lot of stories online. So in French, if you go and type in Textual Singhal, there are a lot of places where, oops, let's try that again. I've got a few of them already. Here we go. I'm going to share my screen just a moment. Okay. So although you can't buy the books anymore, there are some people that have actually scanned them in for French teachers if you want to do that. So some of them, like I said, they might fit your theme, but at least you can get an idea. And in the French ones, the parts of speech and the vocabulary is above instead of like right in the story, which is different than the American style. There are a lot of these that you can find online. So if you just want to look at a story and get an inspiration, you can also do that. Like I said, the Spanish teachers, you've got those books ready to go. I did buy an English version and I thought, oh, I'll just get a few ideas. And I find that sometimes the stories are, it just doesn't translate very well. So if you want to make it more culturally relative to your language group, I think that's a better idea. But it's true that we do need inspiration. Oh, thank you. I'm glad it's a great idea.
I can tell you how I'm going to be using it.
Exciting. Oh, tell.
Okay, so I am working with a class of 4th graders right now, and they've been giving me kind of all the vocabulary. I've been having them describe themselves, the activities they like to do, what are their favorite places to go on vacation, that kind of thing. And I've really been struggling to figure out a way to make that into a little individual book for each of them. Because either some of them are able to write or recopy the phrases, but as far as kind of doodling the images, it's just been a bit chaotic. So I find that this is absolutely the perfect way to do it. They've given me the vocabulary. I'm going to have them go through and work with the Google form with the multiple choice from what they've given me. The one question I did have is whether or not it's possible to merge in images. So for example, if I have a postcard of Paris, a postcard of Geneva, do you know if it's possible if they select an image to merge that into a Google Doc or not?
No, you could.
It's just text?
It's just text. I will look into that though and see if there's anyone that's found a different type of script that would do that. On Autocrat, I do know it's only text, but you could have where I had the animal body parts options, put those, you could scan that, they'll click it, and then you could have them in your story already because you can add pictures to your story to the template. But you want that one specific when they choose.
For example, if they like to go to Virginia on vacation, that there would be a
well, see, now that would be something the students could do is if you make your Google Doc editable that you're sharing with them, when they get their version of it, they have to go and put in the pictures that represent their thoughts. That's a great way to show reading comprehension. So have them do some of the work. And you said they're 4th graders, so that is, they're Googling, I'm sure, images and such.
They're just starting, and I only have them a couple times a week for half an hour, so it's... Yeah, you do. I will look into that, and if I find an answer, Linda, I will post it in the French teachers in the U.S. Awesome, thank you. At any rate, this really m'enlève une épine du pied.
That's what I'm trying to do on these Saturday like quick chats. It's like, let's learn something together for the morning. Okay, it's still morning. It's morning. Now, there's a question about teachers who are not Google schools. Here's a couple thoughts. Does anyone know if what is Microsoft's Google Doc or Google Forms called? Okay, I'll have to look at that. My husband teaches. Okay, Summer, do you have it?
Yes. Can you hear me? Or
Oh yeah, you're fine.
I'm not muted?
Nope, you're on.
Oh, okay. Yes, I use Microsoft with my school, and I use Forms all the time. It is very similar to Google Forms with a few different options as far as, you know, how you could do drop-down menus or checkboxes. They also have things like you can rank things and things like that, but I can't think of anything that would be particularly useful to this that they have.
I'll look into that because I'm not sure how you would merge from the Microsoft form to a Microsoft document.
Right. You could. It would work if you were making one from scratch, but as far as if you were trying to take someone else's Google form and
you can copy paste. Yeah, that's about it. And that's so. The other option that I have for you is if you have Google yourself. Okay, if everybody's got a Gmail or just a Google account, is that you make the document on your, like I have a Google account called MBHS French. It's not my personal Gmail, it's not a school Gmail, it's just one that I made for things that we do in French. And that was before we became a Google Apps for Ed school. So I could make this, you know, on my own account, send it to the students via Microsoft, and as long as they're not blocked from using Google Forms, then they would still put in an email address and they would still get the answers, or they would still get the story.
Yes.
That would work. I mean, it's a workaround. It's not perfect, but Lauren, if that's what you can do to get some to try this out, you don't have to be a Google Apps for Ed school. That's a good question, though. Any other questions or thoughts or ideas? Somebody's here from the UK. I am impressed. I am impressed. Thank you for being here from the UK.
I can say that one place to find stories, like you're mentioning that there's no more of the Textual Singhal. I can't remember the name of the website, but I actually did kind of a MadLib based on one of the stories. I'll post it in the French teachers. It's I think Cécile Lenné.
Oh yeah.
Had it up. You know, it's kind of like a short story database, and they're free to use.
You know,
project maybe.
Yes, that's it. Yes,
that is a gorgeous idea. And if you post that, if you can put that link on there. You can put it even on the post that I made, that so that everyone can see.
Okay.
Like if we have resources, let's just put it on the post that I made so that we can all find it right there.
Okay, yeah. I was very successful using that for MadLibs in class. Awesome. It worked really well. Okay,
well, if you've got one to share, let us see. We always, that's what I say is, you know, as we're trying to get people to share their stuff, the ATF is making this, this massive new website where we're going to be able to share everything. Kind of like EF Prof, which you have your thoughts on EF Prof, but I like, if I just posted this, the template and the doc, and I said, here it is, if you want to use it, you can copy it and use it for your own. So as much as we can share, even if you don't think it's perfect, someone will modify it, you know, they'll take it and make it their own. So hopefully we credit each other.
Kathryn, you mentioned that you have a YouTube video that will explain.
Should I pull that up real quick?
Would you mind?
Absolutely. Let's do that. Let's go on here. So, oops. Now you get to see my, okay. Okay, so if you go to YouTube and you type in Kathryn KU 72. Okay, there we go. Oh heck, what happened to my channel? So I'll show you it this way. I'll go to my channel. Okay, so just look up Kathryn Uslam. You'll be able to find me. Okay, if you go into playlists, okay, and I have one that's called Tech Ideas. No, here it is, Thinking About Syncing. And all the different tutorials that I've done before are on here. I've done quite a few of these. So where is my one that I want to show you? There it is, Google Forms with embedded videos. This will be weird. I'll be watching myself. It's about 30 minutes long. There I am. So let's stop the sharing for a second. I'll come back. So our group is called French Teachers in the U.S. Amanda, just look that up. Okay, and you'll be able to see that if you go, let's see, Facebook.
French Teachers in France. You don't need French.
So the family there, if you want to go ahead and hit mute, that would be helpful. Okay, so there's the Facebook group.
They may not realize that they're contributing that background noise, but you are able to post. You are able to mute.
I can mute. Yeah, I was going to mute you just as you were popping up. Just a second. Okay, so everybody's muted right now. If you want to talk, just hit unmute at the bottom. There's a little. If you just mouse over, you'll see that. Okay. So yes, I will post the recording of this on my original Facebook post, and I'll put it out on Twitter as well. So I think I've gone through everybody's questions. Let's see. I'm so excited that you enjoyed this. Sometimes I don't know if people are going to think it's too hard. I promise the first time it takes some practice, okay, like everything we do. But now that I've done it for a couple of years, I just think, wow, it takes that one step to make this happen. And I'll be here online if you want to chat, if you want to just email with me. My email is Kathryn, ku72@gmail.com, and I'll put that in the chat as well. If you like some other ideas, I do a lot with technology and comprehensible input. I don't always use the words that the comprehensible input people use, but I can guarantee you that I've been CI since 17 years. I've never used a textbook. I create all the materials. I write the curriculum. I share a lot of the curriculum online. So let's just stay in touch. Well, I'm really glad you liked it. I think everyone has a little talent, and let's share it. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the meeting unless there's any more questions. Yeah. Thank you, Linda. That's a great comment. She says, I like the interactivity of this. Just think of all the different ways you can be doing interactive, like interpersonal speaking. The kids read their stories to each other and ask questions while they're filling out the form. They can make comments to each other and ask questions. They're going to do the interpretive reading. They can show their knowledge by drawing. They could compare two stories and see how they're like or dislike. There's so many things, and that's what we do. That's what we do as awesome, amazing teachers. So it's a cold, rainy day here in Bellingham, Washington. I'm going to go out and take a nice, beautiful walk in the rain. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Please stay in touch, and I hope to see you online. All right? Au revoir. Merci beaucoup.